It's about 4 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started with the webinar. As I said, my name is Tara Bowling. I'm a staff attorney at the National Sea Grant Law Center, and today we're hosting this webinar on social media tips for direct marketing aquaculture products. Before we get started, I wanted to give a bit of background on the project related to this webinar. The project was funded through a grant from the Southern Risk Management Education Center, and the Law Center partnered with a number of other organizations for the project. The purpose of the project is to help Alabama aquaculture producers diversify their business through direct marketing, either through CSAs or farmers markets, roadside stands, or even online sales. So the project will ultimately result in the publication of a legal guide on direct marketing aquaculture in Alabama, which is in the final stages of editing now. In addition to this webinar, we hosted a workshop in Auburn, Alabama in April, which covered the topics in the legal guide. We're having another webinar later this summer. And I put the project page here if anyone's interested in finding out more information. So today, first up, we will have Maggie Lawrence, who is a communications specialist with the Alabama Cooperative Extension System. She will talk a little bit about how to effectively use social media for direct marketing. And following Maggie, we'll have Will Wilkins, who's director of the Mississippi Law Research Institute, and he will talk a little bit about the legal issues to consider when using social media for direct marketing. So if you have any questions during the presentation, just type those in the chat box, and we will hold those until the end of both presentations. And finally, I wanted to mention we have a very short survey, if y'all wouldn't mind taking a look at it and answering the questions. We'll post the link now and then at the end. And if you could just answer those after the webinar is done. So with that, I will turn it over to Maggie Lawrence.
As Tara said, I am a communications and marketing specialist with Alabama Extension, and I want to talk a little bit about how you can make social media work for you. I understand that you're very busy people, you've got a lot going in your business, and probably the last thing you think right now is, I can't take another something else on my plate. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. What does your business want to do? You want to talk with your customers and clients. You want to find out what they're interested in. You want to find out what they want to purchase. You want to hear their problems and concerns, whether that's, I don't know how to prepare different kinds of seafoods, concerns about the safety. We know that people have concerns about the safety of seafood and other food products. You want to help them find solutions. You also want to collaborate with others in your industry. Helping each other can help the entire industry. All right, well, what does social media do? Well, it does a lot of the same things we just talked about. It develops conversations between people. It gives your business an opportunity to listen. It gives you opportunities to share. It lets you build relationships. It can let you publicize solutions or answers that you might have discovered. Like I said, it's another tool for collaborating. Talk about what good social media is not. There's, I emphasize, good social media. Good social media is not spam. You do not want to annoy your potential customer base. I'll also let you know it is not controllable. Once you put it up in the Twitter feed, once you put it up on Facebook, there is never any true way to predict just where it might go. And finally, it is not a place for you to dump content and just walk away from it. It requires some management, like any other business tool. Why talk about social media? Seems like everyone's talking about it. Is it a big deal? Yeah, it really is. And this is why. It goes back to the fact that you can lead conversations, you can share, you can communicate, you can set the tone for people's thoughts about your industry. The market in your area by using social media. It lets you build relationships, connections, influence. Nothing looks better for your business. Let's call it a Facebook page. There's your business on a Facebook page. You post an image of some really great looking I don't know. I'm not a big knowledgeable about what fish might be available this time. Let's talk about Gulf shrimp. Post some beautiful photos of shrimp, and you have a customer comes in and types in on that. Those look great. We bought, shrimp from them last week, and it was just fabulous. So that kind of opportunity for personal testimonial can build relationships, improve where your business looks. It also lets you reach a broader audience, and it will help you improve your search engine searchability for your website. I know that social media intimidates a lot of people, but really I want you to think of it as just another set of tools. You all have tools that you've used every day in your business, whether that's your processing equipment, whether you're a charter boat captain and you're taking people out to fish and it's your boat, you all have tools that you use. Social media is just another set of tools to help you improve your business. And on here on this slide, you'll see a number of examples of very popular social media outlets. Things like Facebook is probably what most people think of, even though now I will tell you that the millennials and younger, say 22, 25 and younger, have pretty much abandoned Facebook, but are they your target audience? Twitter is another way to reach customers. LinkedIn is more about talking with colleagues, people in your industry. Instagram and YouTube, very visual elements of social media. Pinterest. The South doesn't lead the world in a lot, it seems like, but I will tell you that it does lead in Pinterest. The fastest growing audience in Pinterest are women 35 to 55 from the South. And now people go, well, why is that? And I always laugh and I say, well, we like to cook and we like craft. So recipes are lots of people use Pinterest as a virtual cookbook. So if you can share recipes from your website for cooking different kinds of seafood or side dishes that would go with the seafood meal, Pinterest is a great place to pin those recipes so people find your website. Yelp and Foursquare let people either put in reviews of your business or check in and say that's where they've been. So just some ideas of some different types of social media tools. Not every one of these will be the tool you need. Just like the guy looking there at his wrenches, you got to pick the right tool for what you want to do. Another critical thing is, are you where the people are? And increasingly, this is where people are. 1.3 billion people use Facebook. 645 million Twitter accounts. Instagram is growing very rapidly. Pinterest is growing rapidly. So these days, while you may still find tools, traditional marketing tools like ads in the newspaper, billboard ads, television commercials, they may still work for you. I think you need to consider the possibility that you also need to take your business to these kind of outlets because people are here. But social media, it can be kind of confusing. This is my kind of amusing slide to kind of tell you what the different types of social media do. Yeah, Facebook, like if you think of it as my dog is cute. So just each different social media outlet I'm trying to share with you, it kind of reaches a different audience. If you notice there on Yelp, best fire hydrant in town, highly recommend it. Yelp is where people can review your business. Foursquare is where they can say, this is where I went to buy supper for tonight. YouTube, a great place, one of the most popular videos we have ever placed on the Alabama Extension YouTube channel has been two of our extension specialists who go through the basics of cleaning fish. So, a video showing how to fillet something, how to prepare an quick, easy how to prepare a recipe. Great things for YouTube. It doesn't have to look like, Steven Spielberg did it for a major movie. Just clean, clear video that you can probably shoot with your iPad, your iPhone. Quick videos, great things to do on YouTube. So just a kind of a fun slide to make y'all smile this afternoon. Something else you cannot neglect. More and more people have smartphones, and more people use or go online, do their web searching via their phone. So it's really important when you develop that website for your business that it's mobile responsive. And if you're doing your own website, you may want to consider double check how it looks on different mobile devices. If you are using something like WordPress to drive your website, make sure that the theme you're using from WordPress is mobile responsive. I think perhaps since we're talking marketing, one of the most critical things I'd like you to note is just how many people use that cell phone as a mobile application to find recommendations, whether that's for a restaurant or a retail outlet or anything like that. So that's why I think it's really important that you use social media to reach those people who can't go anywhere without that cell phone and whipping it out and checking out for, where can I buy, I'm on my way to the beach, where can I buy Gulf shrimp? Where can I, where's the best place to eat seafood? Any of those kind of things. Can't ignore your mobile outlets, your mobile devices. All right, what I think you need. I understand that you're small businesses, but I think your best option is to create a social media team. It may be just one or two people. It may be one of your younger employees. It may be your teenagers, but the best way to work social media is to spread the load. Identify folks who are already using social media tools. If you've got if you're already using Twitter, then you need to be your organization's Twitter person. If you got another person who really enjoys doing Facebook, pick them to do your Facebook thing. But the very first thing I think it's critical for y'all to have before you start using social media, I think you've got to have a website. It doesn't have to be an incredibly fancy website. You can do it through WordPress. You can do it through sites called Wix.com. But I want you to put all your original content, whether it's the photos you take or the recipes that you create or your videos. I want all your original content to live on your website. So what your social media efforts do is always drive people back to your website, which always has, if they get to your website, they find your phone number. They find your business's hours, when they're open, when you're not. It'll also, so that's the reason I want you to use a website and use social media to drive people back to your website. Another thing, like I said, so find who are using tools already in your organization and enlist them to use that on behalf of your organization. Now what do I want you to do? Well, I think one of the first important things we need to do in social media is listen. Nothing annoys people, particularly in the Twitterverse, is people who blow into their world and start talking and are kind of like the town criers. They walk in, they shout a message, and they never hear from them again until it's time to shout another message. So go in and be thoughtful. Spend some time listening. Do some searches on social media, whether that's searching on hashtag seafood, Gulf Coast, seafood recipes. But do some searches and find out what people are saying about what most interests you. Find out about your audience. You can, if on your Facebook page, you can look and see, who your fans are. See who's what age group you're talking to. Identify influencers. If you are watching conversations on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, and people are talking about quoting different people in terms of food safety, or if you find that they are using the phrases, eat local, sustainable, those are the kind of things that are influencing, and that's how you can shape your message out to get their attention. Research keywords. Like I said, I work in extension, and I do a lot of horticulture social media. So I tend to use hashtags in Twitter like garden chat and landscape chat, because those are two hashtags that are used by people in the gardening Twitterverse to find information. I want you to know who you're talking to or who you want to talk to. So you need to know, are you looking to target men? Are you looking to target women? How old? What's their socioeconomic status? Where do they hang out online? Now, I mentioned earlier that the millennials, 25 and under, have abandoned Facebook. So if you want them to come to your business, you're going to have to use things like Instagram and Twitter to find them, because they are fairly convinced that people of my generation and older have taken over Facebook. So you need to find out where they hang out and what they're using. And how do they participate? Some age groups tend to be more lurkers, so you may not actually realize they're paying attention. They don't click the like button a lot, but they're still paying attention. So identify your audience. Things to consider. People's behaviors. When we talk about that, I mean, what time of day are they on? If you're looking at a working audience, they're probably not on social media a lot during the workday. They may check it right before they go to lunch, right as they come back from lunch, right before they head out. So publishing something at 2 in the afternoon is probably not a good idea. You may also find for people like that their conversations go down on the weekends because they're out doing fun things. So they're not spending a lot of time searching for recipes, looking for certain things on the weekends. However, if you're a restaurant, maybe a good time to do some things because people are going to be searching for places to go. Okay, the key about any tool is using it correctly. So I want you to figure out who your audience is. I want you to decide what your objectives are. Are you trying to increase visits to your website? Are you trying to increase walk-in traffic into your business? Are you just trying to improve name recognition? Figure out what your objectives are. Then, like probably when you did that business plan when you went to the bank to get a loan to start your business perhaps, you had to have those kind of objectives. You had to have a strategy. I want you to figure out what you're going to do in a week. That's your strategy. You're going to post a couple times on Facebook. We're going to be, listen and talk about the helpful benefits perhaps of eating Gulf seafood, the tactics you're going to use, where you're going to reach these people. And it all comes back to all those help you achieve your goals. Finally, it's not much fun, and I have to say it's the biggest pushback I get from my extension colleagues is measurement. But I don't want you to use a tool and keep using it if it's not working for you. So you've got to stop periodically and evaluate that. You're going to need to perhaps look at your Twitter analytics, look at the insights that are very easy to check out from a Facebook page. And I want you to look and see if you're getting a return on your time and investment by working in social media. All right. We talked a little bit about those before. Specific objectives, what do you want to accomplish? And I encourage you, if you don't do it today while we're talking, I'm going to make this presentation available to Tara so she can share it. But I want you to come up with 3 things you want social media to do for you. You didn't buy a new computer, or you didn't buy new processing equipment, or you didn't buy advertising for your business without knowing what you wanted it to accomplish for your business. And I think that's very critical that you do know that for social media as well. Content, new or user-generated. I encourage you to generate new content, and that keeps your website fresh and dynamic. Keeping your website fresh and dynamic improves its searchability. I love this thing of where they talk about social media as conversation on steroids. You've really got to go out and talk with people. If someone says, puts a nice review on Yelp, you need to come back and tell them thank you. Or, case in point, one of the stories that caught my attention last week out of the Gulf were all the shark footage and how they were saying that might have been related to fishermen cleaning their catch and tossing the remains over the boat. That might have been a great way to talk about in your business. We fish in the Gulf, we bring things in, and we clean and fillet in our processing facility. We're not contributing to this problem. So that's the kind of way to do it. The other key thing is, how many of you remember in high school, and since I'm a woman, I'll call out the popular girl, and you can see her now, and she would smile brightly, and she would come up to you and go, "It's so good to see you." And you knew in your heart, really, she didn't mean it. Even through the ether, as it were, of social media and the internet, people can recognize your sincerity. They understand if you're talking to them from the heart. They understand if they ask a question that may be a little hard to, or perhaps uncomfortable to answer. They appreciate it when you give them an honest answer. They appreciate them knowing there's a human being on the other side of that conversation through that they're watching on a computer screen. I have a very good friend now that for quite some time, the only place I knew her was on Twitter. She was a garden blogger. I wrote a garden blog. We talked a lot about things. This turned out her husband is an Auburn grad, so they came and grew up in Montgomery. They came through Auburn, and I got to meet her in person. And you know what? She was just like I expected her to be, because she was real. She sounded just like when we sat in the barbecue house over breakfast one morning. She sounded just like I expected her to. It was the same voice that I had listened to on Twitter and Facebook and in her blog for months before I met her. Another key thing is, you've probably heard the phrase about oversharing. Or someone's blowing up my Twitter feed, or someone's blowing up my Facebook feed. Share your content, share your new recipes, share new photos of a great charter fishing operation you might have taken. But then also share it from other sources. So that might be from, say, Sea Grant. That might be from the Chamber of Commerce if they did a piece on seafood restaurants in the area. You could share, as a matter of fact, a colleague of mine in Alabama Extension did a story a while back when they opened the oyster trail. We did a big story on the oyster trail with the cool photos of the big giant oyster shells that have been painted in different colors. That'd be a great thing to share. Because here's the key about when you share other people's content, they learn who you are. They think you're a nice person. Oh, look, they shared mine. Then they share yours. It's kind of like it. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Let's look at a couple of different kind of tools and tactics. If you like to write, and I would encourage you, if you've got a website, put someplace for a blog. I don't expect you to write a lengthy article every day. It may be just here's some great photos we took of the catch today. You can do on your website. WordPress is a great tool for using that. That's what Twitter is, microblogging. A photo, a quick little 140-character comment about something you've done. And it's Twitter and blogs are all easy ways to talk with your audience. Another one, Facebook and Pinterest. Lets you network with lots and lots of people. Once you pin a photo of a recipe that you've created a dish, you took photos of it, you posted that recipe online on your website, then you pin that to one of your boards. So, and you use words like seafood or other keywords, 15-minute meals, 5-ingredient meals. So when people come and search on Pinterest, they find them really easily. And that's the thing, too, is about Facebook. I encourage you to, photos are great, particularly on Facebook, because posts with photos get more attention than anything else. Also allows people to like your content. And once they like your content, those likes show up on their page. YouTube and images, it's almost infotainment. Yeah, I know we've all probably watched more funny cat videos than we need to, but then there are those infotainment. Like I was talking about how to clean a fish, how to fillet it, cooking shrimp on the barbecue on skewers. I mean, the possibilities really are endless. How to put it all together. And we've got a couple of steps. I'm just going to pop these up real quick. We talked a little bit about it. You know, get an account. I encourage you to take it slow. Pick one that you want to work with until you're comfortable. Learn how to post. Join that conversation. Discover what people are doing with the information. That's where I get back to talking about analytics. Are they sharing what they found? Are they sharing your recipes? Are they repinning your images? Look for people to partner with. And remember to share other people's work as well. Have fun. Social media really ought to be fun and not a lot of stress. Most important thing I can tell you, create a social media calendar. Plan time to go in and do this. Plan time to research, write, and share. I encourage people to devote maybe an hour to 2 hours every week. And there's some great tools like Hootsuite and Buffer that allow you to schedule, and Facebook and Twitter will also, in there, some of their functionality will allow you to go ahead and post the content and, well, input it, and then it will post at a later time. You can schedule it, so you don't have to be on it, you know, at all those optimum times. You can spend a couple hours perhaps on a Monday morning or on a Thursday afternoon and get that content in for the next week. So all that you have to do when you have time during the week is pop in and see when people are commenting and respond to them. Some best practices, and those are kind of what we've already talked about. Put together good, oops, sorry, hit that space button once too many. Let's see if I can go back. There we go. That right team, a strategy that works. Analyze it. Be open to working with others. Be real. Don't try to control the message. And give more than you get. Y'all have all heard this, but it's really true in social media. If you don't try new things, you know, you're going to keep getting the same result. What harm is it to your business if you say, I'm going to give it 6 months and see if it makes a difference? You'll have invested some time. Most of these things are absolutely free. All the social media accounts that I mentioned are free. To start off with, you can certainly go to more advanced Pinterest for Business and pay for them, but you can always start with all the free tools, and all you will have invested is some time. Finally, 4 things about social media. Listen, learn, connect, share. It's what we do in face-to-face meetings and in good social media conversations. It's what you do there. You listen to what people are saying, you learn from what they're talking about, you connect with them, and you share what you have to have with them. And that brings me to the end. So I hope I've left plenty of time for Will.
Thank you, Maggie. That was such good information. I really appreciate it. So if anyone has questions for Maggie, post those in the chat box, and she will take them at the very end. Now we will move on to Will Wilkins, Director of the Mississippi Law Research Institute, and he will talk a little bit about how we can stay within the bounds of the law when using all these social media tools that Maggie just talked about. So,
hi, this is Will. Can everybody see my PowerPoint? Is it up?
yes.
Okay, and you can hear me and all that good stuff.
Yes.
All right, they've asked me today to talk to you a little bit about the legal, I think I titled it intellectual property, but really more the legal parameters for social networking and social media and using those in your business. These really aren't new issues. These are issues that we've dealt with for a long time in other areas of publishing and other areas involving other types of media. The difference with social media and really any type of online media, in my opinion, is really the scale, the ability, and it's both the good side and the bad side. It's the ability to reach a lot of people very quickly But also, as Maggie noted, there's also a loss of control that goes along with that. That once something's posted online, the ability, certainly my ability, to take it down or do anything with it, just leave it there, is very limited. And so the scale of the legal problems may be a little larger, but they're not new. They're certainly not new. And also, I should say that you know, I'm a lawyer, and so my focus is always on the legal issues. But I do understand that the legal issues probably shouldn't drive this. And if legal issues drove social media or drove internet development, we probably wouldn't have social media or internet development. And so I do understand that. But that being said, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the legal ramifications and legal issues that we confront. If I can get that to advance. When we're online and when we're sharing stuff through social networking, there are really two different types of activities that we are undertaking. The first is we're creating original content, hopefully. We're putting content online. That's a screenshot, if you're seeing that, hopefully. That's a screenshot that I took from Facebook from a few days ago from a commercial site. I think it's Outside Magazine. Creating original content. They're posting a picture and an article. But we're also reposting content. We're reposting things that other people have put up. We're commenting on those. We're posting stories. We may be using other people's photographs or music or articles to do that, and that creates some interesting kind of legal questions as well when we're reposting or when we're using other people's content. Luckily, the law, particularly copyright law, is uniquely set up to look at both of these things because it's kind of a dual. Copyright law works on two levels. First of all, it gives rights to the person that owns it, but it also gives the public some rights, which we'll talk about in a second. There are some broad areas of law that really control, not control, but that really affect how we operate on social media. And again, these are very old. This is nothing new. One of the first areas that today we're going to talk about copyright and trademark. But I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention that the laws regarding privacy, publicity, and defamation also come into play. So obviously, if you post private pictures of someone online, you have some privacy issues. If you use particularly a celebrity's name or likeness or photograph of them to advertise your business without their permission, you have some publicity issues there. If you say things that aren't true, particularly online because it's so widespread, you have some defamation issues if it's about a person. And so those issues are there. I'm not going to probably address those too much unless there are questions about them because they're pretty clear cut. Well, they're clear cut as far as we're concerned. What I'm going to focus on are copyright and trademark because I think particularly copyright law has a lot to do with what we put on our social networking. Obviously, I know how I use Twitter, which is not very well, I think. I know how I use Facebook, which a lot of times is to keep up with groups that I both work with and deal with them in my spare time, fishing websites mostly. And so the copyright law really can govern what is put on and trouble that we can get into for putting other people's content on. So let's start looking at that. Copyright law, this is copyright law in 3 minutes or less, I promise. Copyright law is surprising. This is a picture that I drew on my iPad, I don't know, two or 3 days ago in preparation of this. Now I'm glad I can't hear you, all muted. Y'all can text me if you have comments about the quality of my picture, but we can also picture that I created. Copyright law protects works which are original. Originality means two things. It means I created it, not someone else. Originality means it also has some modicum in it. It's just a little bit of creativity to it. My picture, for instance, while not the most original picture in the world, everybody's 4-year-old has drawn such a picture, it meets the originality requirements of copyright. Second requirement, it has to be a work of art that's defined by the statute. These works that are protected by copyright include pictures, motion pictures, music, dance if it's noted in a certain form of notation, written works like books, articles, things like that. All those things are protected by copyright law. So that's a work of authorship, and it's got to be in tangible form. Tangible form just really means it's somewhere other than in my head. The example I always give is if I were reading this presentation to you, it would be in tangible form. But for y'all, I don't know if it's lucky or not, I'm not reading. I've got some notes, but I'm not really even using the notes. So really what I'm doing right now is not in tangible form. My picture, though, that you see has never been on paper, but it's been on my iPad and it's now on my computer. It's in tangible form. If I could see you all, I'd ask you to hold up your hand for if you think that my picture that I put on there on the website, not on the website, but on the online is now copywritten. Usually when I do that in class, I'll get, half the class at the beginning will say, about half the people will say that it's copyrighted, about the other half will not. The answer is, these days, the requirements for copyright, it's got to be original, it's got to be a work of authorship, and it's got to be in tangible form. Those are the only three things. My picture is now copyrighted. Now, the copyright doesn't last forever, but it's pretty close these days. Copyright, my picture that I drew there will be my life, so the day I die, plus 70 years. If I created it as part of my employment, which I really did, it's 90 years from the date of publication, or 120 years from the date of creation. So copyright protection lasts for a really, really long time these days. I can change the form of it. I just took that as an example and stuck it in a newsletter. Just because I changed the form in it doesn't change its copyright. Really what I wanted to show you was an example that if I put it on a website, which I can't do, Barry would have to help me do that. If I put my picture on a website, I've done nothing to destroy the copyright protection on that photograph, on my drawing. It's protected by copyright. So as the owner of the copyright, I have some exclusive rights to it, which means I get to exclude other people from using it. I have the rights to create derivative works, to copy it, to publish it, and to use it and create all those ownership rights that we're used to with other types of property. Unique to copyright, however, is that there are some rights of the general public. Everybody's probably heard of fair use. Fair use is probably the major of those other rights, which is there are times that as the member of the general public, not the copyright owner, I can use a copyrighted work without the owner's permission. Don't have time to do fair use today, but it's a major exception when I can use somebody else's copyrighted work without their permission. So copyright, just to reiterate, original, work of authorship, tangible form, protected. Now, you may notice I didn't say that they had to have a copyright notice. A lot of people think it has to have a copyright notice. I'll show you an example in a minute. It does not. It doesn't have to have a copyright notice. I don't have to file anything with the Library of Congress. I can, but neither one of those is required. So really, my picture that I drew and put up there is now copyrighted and protected by copyright. Trademark is different. Trademark protects its name, symbol, or sound used to identify a business or service. These are examples of some of the schools that I work with. My favorite, of course, being the Delta State Fighting Okra at the bottom corner, one of my favorite college mascots of all times. These are trademarks. The University of Mississippi State University, their names, they identify, it's a tag used to identify the university. It's used to identify these places as institutes for higher learning. Some of the more famous ones, of course, that you know is Coca-Cola, is a big trademark. McDonald's, Big Mac is a big trademark. It identifies a name or a name. It identifies a business or a service that's being furnished. So it's possible that copyright and trademark law protect the same thing. The Fighting Okra, for instance, the photograph down there is probably protected by copyright law. The drawing, and it's probably protected by trademark law as well. So there's some overlap. Trademark law, when we were talking about copyright, remember I said that there are times that you can use someone's copyrighted work without their permission. Trademark law doesn't provide that. Trademark law really comes from an area of law that's designed to prohibit unfair competition. It's designed to prevent consumer confusion of where the product comes from once I put a label on it. So trademark law doesn't provide that fair use type doctrine. Obviously, there are times when I can use somebody's trademark. For instance, if I'm writing an article, it can be critical of a university. I could refer to the University of Mississippi in my article. Obviously, by referring to them, I have to use their trademark. That's a way of using the trademark descriptively in a way to describe the product or something like that that is allowable. So on websites and stuff, we're careful with using someone else's trademark that's not descriptive. So again, the two things that we do with copyrighted work and with trademarks is that we create original content. We put copyrighted works, even if it's ours. Probably some of you didn't think that picture that I drew earlier would be copyrighted. When we put it online, we're creating an original work. We've created original work. Now we're putting it online and using it. But what if on Twitter I want to retweet? And this is where I get a little shaky on Twitter. I look at Twitter, but I've never retweeted anything, but I think I just push a button. And when I do that, I'm actually republishing that picture, I think, in my Twitter feed. You can do the same on Facebook. These are issues that you really have to look at. So what are the best practices? Let's get down to the best practices for dealing with social media in the constraints of this law. Again, I don't think these areas of the law ought to drive web development or what we're doing online, but I think they should be instructive and give us the parameters of some of what we can and can't do. One of the best advices I can give you, the best pieces of advice I can give you, is to clearly mark your materials. When you put something online, when I put my photograph online, not my photograph, but the drawing I did online, it's protected by copyright law, but there are a lot of people that don't understand that. So one of the easiest things in the world I can do is I can attach that to it. Just down at the bottom, you can use the copyright symbol, which is the C with circle around it, or you can write out copyright. You can give them a name, and you can give them a date that it was first published. These were the requirements back in the old days when you did actually have that copyright. It was required for some period of time, but it is no longer. And so these things are, putting copyright notice on there puts the world on notice. Everybody then sees it, says, okay, we'll claim a copyright on that. Doesn't mean they can't use it, but it also gives them a way to contact me. It lets them know whose content it is when it's republished. Second piece of advice is when you're using Twitter and Facebook and you're putting original content on there, go and read those agreements that you never want to read, the terms of use. Both Twitter and Facebook have readily available terms of use. This is a quotation from the, sorry about my computer. This is a quotation from the, I believe it's Instagram, obviously. The Instagram terms of use, and it says, you hereby grant to Instagram a non-exclusive, fully paid, and royalty-free transferable sub-license, worldwide license to use the content that you post on or through the service. So what does this mean? It means that you're retaining copyright to it, that you're giving them permission to use that image. You're also giving them, if it's transferable, the right to allow other people to repost it. So if you're putting something on social media that you don't want shared, you need to be careful about where you put it, and where you're going to find out about a lot of these things is in the terms of use. And the terms of use for both Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, for all three of them, are not particularly long or onerous, and I would encourage you to look at that if that concerns you. Third piece of advice, give very clear permissions. When you post stuff online, if it's not covered by one of these terms of use in Twitter or Instagram or somewhere, there are things you can do. One of my favorites is a group called Creative Commons. Creative Commons is a group that has created a series of licenses, and this is a kind of a screenshot that I took of a website that was using a Creative Commons license. And when I see this at the bottom of the website, it says, except for otherwise noted, content on this site is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. And it would allow me to click on that. It would show me how I can use the material on the website. So I think most of us are in the business of sharing information and wanting our information to get out. By using a Creative Commons license and including that, incorporating that into my website, I'm telling people without coming to me what the terms are if they want to reuse my materials. And what this attribution license says is basically says you can use it as long as you don't charge for it, and as long as you give me credit for it. In other words, you put a tagline on there that it comes from the website. So give clear permissions when you can. I think when you're developing websites, it's an easy place to do it. When you're posting when you're using Facebook or Instagram, some of those, the terms of use are going to govern it. But on your website, clear permission through Creative Commons or some other way really it takes some work off you, because it means you don't get a lot of phone calls asking. You can put it right out there. Another piece of advice is to get permissions when necessary. So when you're going to use somebody else's photograph, I know you're all going to get off and want to use that excellent picture I drew of a house. We can always talk about fair use, and I can talk about fair use for weeks. I won't, but I can, and we can argue whether what you're going to do with it is fair use. But I'm a nice guy. I like my picture. I'm going to let you use my picture. So call me and ask me, and I'll give you permission. And it takes all of that off of you if you're using someone else's information. It doesn't mean you always can do that. A lot of times you don't know who it is. And just because someone doesn't give you permission, by the way, it also does not destroy a fair use. And so I would encourage you to get permissions when you can, when you feel like it's necessary. Lots of U.S. government documents, and a lot of you probably work with U.S. government documents, Lots of U.S. government documents are in the public domain, which means copyright doesn't protect them. Works created directly by the U.S. government are not copyrightable. They all go directly into the public domain. It doesn't mean that some of the documents that or other things, music and stuff, held by the federal government isn't protected by copyright because it can get transferred into them. The things they create, USGS maps and some of that kind of stuff, are typically in the public domain. So you don't have to have permission for a lot of that. But when permission is necessary, permission is very easy. I ask for lots of copyright permission for folks. Sorry, take you off the side. So those are my best practices. Really just let other people know the rights they have when you're posting stuff. Understand the rights that you have when you post stuff on third-party websites like Instagram, lumping all this together, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Understand what you're giving up when you give it there. There's nothing wrong with doing it, but it's good to know what for instance, the Instagram terms of use are there, and give clear permission, get permissions when necessary. So those are kind of the general tips that I have for dealing with intellectual property and social media. I would say since I've been at the university, it's probably, I don't know, 40%, 50% of the work that I've done has dealt with social media or issues arising from social media. So it certainly dominates the area. But these bodies of law that we talk about, trademark and copyright and privacy and publicity and defamation, are nothing new. And so we're pretty used to using these things. I think we're going to open the floor up for questions now. I do want to caution you that as a lawyer, lawyers are all paranoid. As a lawyer, I would caution you against asking direct legal questions for something that's happening to you right now. You can ask legal questions, but I think you ought to be careful about not asking direct legal questions. I'll be glad to talk to you offline, Barry and Sarah, and those guys can get you in touch with me if you've got other questions that you'd rather not ask online. So I will yield the floor.
All right. Thank you so much, Will. Appreciate that. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead and type those in the chat box, and Maggie and Will can take those, or if you have any for me, I can take those as well. If not, I'm going to hope y'all can still see the SurveyMonkey link right there. If y'all wouldn't mind clicking on that and taking the survey after we're all done, I would really appreciate it. And also, please visit our webpage if you want more information on the project. We'll post this webinar after we have a chance to edit it. We'll post it on the page in a few days. Just give everyone a minute. Okay, I guess, Maggie and Will, I guess you covered everything. Okay, here's someone from Bill. Okay, he says, I wonder if either speaker could talk about using pictures of other people. I frequently get questions about needing permission, particularly if underage. So, Will, you might field that one. Or Maggie.
That's actually yeah, good question, and something I didn't really cover. When we talk about privacy and publicity, that's when that really comes into play. When you're using pictures of other people, you generally do need permission from that person to use the photograph. Permission is very easy to get, particularly easy to get when you take the picture. It's a lot harder to get later when you can't find them. But I have found and had very good luck clearing permissions to use photographs of people. Now, when it's a stock photo and things like that, you're taking a bit of a risk. If the stock photo company had permission to use those photographs, I can tell you some horror stories of folks who showed up at Macy's and saw their family pictures in picture frames, and so without consent. So does it happen? It happens all the time that people use it. It happens all the time that people build, and Maggie can probably talk about this better than I, but it happens a lot that people build websites and then get demand letters from people saying, that's my picture, please take it off your website. So Maggie earlier touched on the idea of creating your own content. I think creating your own content is always the way to go. And I think when you do it, you should get permission. I think permission's better. As a lawyer, of course, I'm going to say this, it should be in writing. It's a one-pager. for a publicity release. So yes, I like getting pictures of people. Obviously, there's some implied consent. If I take a photograph of somebody in an open space, in a public space, there's some implied consent. But it makes me nervous as a lawyer. Doesn't mean you can't do that, maybe, but it makes me more nervous. Maggie, what's your kind of best practice on that?
I agree. I want you to get photo releases in writing. I want you to keep it on file. And if it's an image that you're going to, that you do use, I would be even happier if you printed out a copy of that photo next to that release, and so you would have it together. Bill probably is talking about me when with extension. I'm very nervy about people using photos of minors. I don't get so nervy when it's like a really wide shot, but close-ups of minors really give me heartache for what the bad people of the world can take to those photos and do. As part of our world in Alabama Extension, if a young person's in 4-H, they sign their parents sign a photo release. The other thing that I would say, but if you're having an event at your, and Will, this is where we'll come back to you. If you're having an event at your business, I think there's a very low expectation of privacy there. So if you take, you snap that wide shot of the full tent in front of your business and post it on Twitter, that doesn't give me as much heartache. So I think part of it also comes into expectation of privacy and perhaps how you use the image. The quick Twitter shot, ooh, we're having a great event here at our shop, is one thing versus using an image of someone tasting something and you put it on the front page of your website or in a brochure.
I agree. I think that the expectation of privacy is really the key. Obviously, my expectation of privacy and someone else's expectation of privacy may be different in the same situation. So as a lawyer, do I want written permission? Yes. But does the law always require that? No. And part of that is a real expectation of privacy. A lot of times when we're doing seminars, for instance, we'll post around the room, that this is being videoed, audio, however we're recording it. And also give them an option. If you don't want to be videoed, sit in the top corner or some space where the video camera won't go, to give them an option to get out. And sometimes we try to use that as consent, because sometimes it's difficult. If you have a couple hundred people, it's difficult. It's not impossible to get consent from everybody. So yes, I think you have to look at those situations where there's an expectation of privacy.
I see Scott asked a question about using pictures on your website that others took if you give them credit. First, you need to get that permission before you post it on their website. Photographers, particularly professional photographers, that's how they make their living. They do not stay in business giving away use of their images for free. So if it's a professional photographer's image, you need to get that permission in writing. And he's probably going to give you some very specifics about how you may use that image. You may use it on the website, but you may not use it in any written publication. That's what my husband did when he was in the photography business. Photographers don't give away unlimited rights anymore. Now, if it's just an amateur photographer, you may not be in such of a bind. But if it's a pro photographer, expect them to ask for compensation.
That's right. I would agree with that. We have two issues, and we deal with it in the university world a lot. One is the issue of plagiarism, and that's what credit does. Is credit takes away that issue of plagiarism. But plagiarism is an academic issue, not a legal issue. The legal issue is copyright, and it either has to be fair use or fit in one of the other copyright exceptions that you need permission. And I think probably we're all pretty risk averse, and so written permission, particularly from photographers and the like, is important.
Well,
and different than credit.
Well, because I really don't think fair use comes into play when it's a commercial image and you're putting it on your personal business website. That's not really fair use, is it?
It would depend. It depends. If for instance, a movie reviewer doing a movie review can use a 10-second clip, a very short clip, that's considered fair use. Even if they don't like the movie, then I can get permission for it. So it depends. I will tell you this, and I probably shouldn't admit this online, but of the hundreds and hundreds of fair use questions I've had over 20 years, I've probably answered 3 of them with an affirmative or a negative. It's always a gray area, and that's why permission is really the way to go. That being said, did Siskel and Ebert go out and get permission from movie companies? Probably not. They're probably falling back on fair use. But no, I think probably what you're talking about is using a stock image from professional photographer of dolphins swimming in front of a boat. If you're using it ornamentally or some other way like that on your website, definitely would not seem like a fair use to me. But if I'm using it critically, maybe we can build the case. But permission's easy and certain.
Okay, great. Thanks to both of you. Okay, so if there are no other questions for Maggie or Will about social media or legal issues, I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and thank you so much to Maggie and Will for your excellent presentations. I really appreciate it. I hope y'all will check back in with our project page and see any further developments and that you find them helpful. So thanks, everyone.
Thank y'all.
Glad to be here. Enjoyed it.